Hello everyone, and welcome to another video. Character appropriation has been around even since the ancient Romans, the ancient Greeks, where you basically take characters and reimagine them to tell your story. However, in the light of recent events, I've come to see that not all character appropriation is genuinely for the better. Let's start with the good aspects. In 1998, a C-grade comic book hero was being reimagined on the big screen. They wanted to reach a new audience. They wanted to tell a new story. So, Wesley Snipes became the face and the perfect imagination of Blade. This was widely accepted in many aspects. First of all, Wesley Snipes played the role perfectly. I could see Blade being Wesley Snipes. They took a C-tier hero and were able to bring him to the forefront, making him name recognition with many other iconic heroes. They ended up doing the same thing with Nick Fury. Nick Fury, who, like all the other heroes, was originally white. They recast him as Samuel L. Jackson, and now you can't even think of Nick Fury without thinking of Samuel L. Jackson. He was perfectly cast. Some character adaptations are very minimal, yet they're minimal because people have come to expect something. X-Men is a very popular comic, so when it came time to adapt it into film, they couldn't make rather large changes to any of the characters. When Hugh Jackman was cast as the Wolverine, it came with some controversy because Jackman was considered too tall and too handsome. Hugh Jackman, which was 6'3", was contrary to the comic book Wolverine character, who was 5'3". However, Hugh Jackman's portrayal of the character won audiences over, and now no one can ever see anyone else ever playing the character. Time will tell if that holds. However, in X-Men Origins, they thought to bring in Deadpool. However, the character adaptation of Deadpool went so far against the grain of what people had come to love about Deadpool that it was instantly disliked. Even though the movie was subpar, well, horrendous to begin with, if the character was truly Deadpool, as people had envisioned Deadpool, the film would have been a success just for that. However, the adaptation was a complete slap in the face to fans all over. It comes to show that when you adapt a character, you must do the due diligence to know how much of a change are you making and how big of a fan base is there behind this character that will be outraged at the change, and how much of a change do you believe they will be willing to accept. Most of these thoughts, most writers these days don't even think about. They just take a product that they know people would enjoy and instantly do whatever they want with it, run away with it with their so-called creative minds, angering a fan base and destroying people's love for characters. Even before 2008, if they had decided to recast Iron Man as someone completely different, it would have been widely accepted, since he was a lower grade hero. However, after seeing Robert Downey Jr.'s portrayal of the character, it would be impossible to see anyone else other than Robert Downey Jr. playing the role. We had seen what we had always expected to see. In comic books seemed to be the forefront for most of this character appropriation. You would see, what if Batman and Superman were evil? We ended up with Watchmen, a portrayal of a dystopian superhero world where the heroes aren't heroes. You get the same look through the Boys comic. The lens, if the good guys aren't entirely good, what would the world truly be like? How would they truly be? However, those are the widely accepted aspects of character appropriation. You take a character to promote them, to either make them better, to grow a fan base, which has largely settled into obscurity. Some negative aspects of this are when you take an idea from another nation and rebrand it in the American cinemas. What does that end up like? Well, we saw a pretty clear vision of that in Death Note. Taking an iconic character, one of the greatest mangas, movies, animes in Japanese history, and butchering it for the American audience. because for some reason the American audience can't see a nerd as also a sports enthusiast, when that's commonplace in Japan. That they cast Light as a shut-in goth instead of an athletic, smart kid. It wasn't widely accepted because the character that people had come to love, even in America, was butchered. And then there's Troy. I love the movie Troy. I truly enjoy it. However, one thing always seemed off to me. Why is it that Achilles would get into such a rage when his cousin Patroclus died? I could not understand that. Certainly, I love my cousins. I love my brothers. But that blind rage that he fell in when he found out his cousin died did not resonate with me at all. Years later, I read the Iliad and found out that Achilles' lover was Patroclus. And at the death of Patroclus, he fell into a rage. The one he loved more than anyone had died. Even on his deathbed, he wished his ashes to be mixed with Patroclus, the one he loved, because he never wanted to be separated from him again. Reading that, I could understand, I could see it. However, the movie Troy decided to appropriate the character to make him resonate more with audiences. Even to this day, I can't understand why. It never makes sense to take a character's reason for an action, take away a character's passion. Because if you destroy a character's passion, they become unrelatable. I still enjoy the movie, and I can enjoy it much more seeing it through the eyes of the character's true motivation. Characters now have become appropriated for the worst of reasons. They are now appropriated to tell an agenda which has no place in escapism. One of the biggest upsets for me would be Mulan. Mulan was a relatable character. No matter if you were a guy, a girl, you could empathize and sympathize with her story. She was stuck, expected to be nothing but a bride. However, when war came to China, her father, who was tasked to go to war, who was crippled, she decided to go in his place to save him. She was weak. She was not better than the men around her. She used her mind to pass problems that her strength could not. It spoke volumes to her passion. It spoke volumes to her power. She knew she was not stronger than the ones around her, that she attacked the problems differently. She was smarter than the rest. She had to be smarter because she was not stronger. It was a perfectly well-written story. And then they appropriate that character to tell a completely different story. A story of a woman with no flaws. A woman that cannot be destroyed. A woman who's perfect in every way. A woman whose only weakness I could see was the fact that she is not using all of her power. I could not find that story relatable in any way. I could not enjoy that story because I could not struggle along with the character. How can you struggle along with a character who is perfect? How can you relate to a character who's perfect? How can you relate to a character who needs no help from anyone? And in the original, Mulan needed help. She had Eddie Murphy. She had Cricket. She had her friends in the army who had her back. But this character appropriation wave has started to destroy what once were great characters. They have become perfect. And you cannot have a character who is perfect. Perfect is impossible. There is no such thing as perfection. So how they decide to create these characters, reappropriate such a well-developed character and make them perfect is mind-boggling. Even with the new Batman and Superman were basically characters who were appropriated to tell the story they wish to tell, keeping the names they should not have kept. Has it become so hard to write relatable characters? Has it become so hard to see the flaws in humanity? Has it become so hard to see the hero's journey through a great story? How characters have to struggle with themselves in order to improve themselves? What is with this wave of making everyone perfect? What is with this wave of making adults have a low intelligence? What is with this wave of making men abusive, terrible beings? When I was reading about the new 5G DC comics, they are taking what once were amazing characters and rebranding them. However, they are going with more of a futuristic style. They are having old Bruce Wayne, old Superman, and having a younger cast of the League. However, the characters that they are designed do not seem relatable in the slightest. Superman, even though he had all these perfections, it was his emotional struggle, the fact that he had to contain himself, that makes him relatable. The new Superman, do not believe he is that relatable. The new Flash, the new Batman, even though they're continuing stories which we have known and loved of characters, they take them and destroy them for no apparent reason. It's a complete slap in the face to those of us who have grown up to care for these characters, who have grown up sympathizing with them, and who have grown up better men or women because of them. Simply 20 years ago, even less, character appropriation was utilized to tell other stories, was utilized for a writer to have a jump start, a jumping point. It was like, I love this character. Why don't I write my aspect of that character? However, you change the name. You keep their power set. You keep their motivation. You keep certain aspects about them. But you can do with what you will after the fact. Now, character appropriation is literally taking the character you once loved and destroying them before your eyes. They do not do the character any justice. They do not honor these characters we have come to admire, we have come to respect, we have come to love. They destroy them simply because they can. Simply because they believe we will accept it no matter what. Blade, Nick Fury. One of the best arguments for character appropriation. Troy was done out of fear of what the audience might think. I don't think a creative should care. I think a creative should stay true to the original story. Should stay true to the original characters. You don't have to hint at it too much. You don't have to show every aspect of it, but you have to let the audience know. You can't cop out and give them, oh, this is his cousin. He's going to sacrifice himself and go on a rage as soon as his cousin dies. The only true place to find true stories is in the indie area. These authors with Kickstarters, Indiegogos, working on independent movies, independent comics, independent cartoons, independent novels, is where all true writing seems to be heading, because there are no real authors left in the main media. Especially when you see places like Blizzard hiring those just off of Twitter who have no real credentials except shouting into the void of Twitter. We need to stop the destruction of character appropriation. We need to put a cease and desist on those who choose to destroy our favorite characters. Leave our characters cemented. Force creatives to go and create their own characters. Leave our classics alone. Leave the characters we grew up with, the characters who inspired us, alone. We need to go back to original movies, original stories, and escapism. Alright, that's where I'll leave you. Please comment a thought down below, whether you agree, disagree. I'd love to hear from you. Please like, share, subscribe. I'll see you next time. Toodles.